Welcome to the wrestling experience.
Johnny, aren't you forgetting something?
Huh?
You know that
Oh,
you just pulled a Shelton Benjamin. What's going
my
on?
God. I forgot my mask. I was still wearing it. I didn't realize.
Our attempt at humor. Hopefully, a couple of you chuckled, and
Was pretty bad. Not. I hope you chuckled half as much as I did when I saw Shelton with the mask on.
yes, and hopefully nobody quit the video. Uh,
Yeah, that too.
we are the Wrestling Experience. My name is Jazz.
And I'm Jenny, and we're still practicing social distancing even when we're doing this remotely.
Yes, absolutely. Always practice social distancing. Now, Raw was a cluster F. I was gonna say there was a lot of good, there was a lot of weird, but overall it was an episode of Raw. Like I think that's the best way of describing it, right?
Yeah. I mean, again, it's 3 hours, so like even if it's really good, it's still 3 hours. It's like a
Sure.
really good movie that's super long,
Yeah.
after a while it gets tiring. But there was some moments that I was not into, but some good stuff. Let's
Now,
let's just go dive right in.
exactly. Let's dive right in because it starts off with our number one champion, our guy, Drew McIntyre, looking like a million
guy.
bucks, COVID free. And he's really happy, man. He's basically like soaking it all in, and he just basically thanks the fans for the outpouring of support and love that he got the last couple of weeks. And he talked about how he started training by day 4, the fact that he didn't have any severe symptoms. I believe that he basically had like loss of taste or something like that. But he quickly pivots the conversation to Goldberg, and he hypes his legendary undefeated streak and whatnot, and basically just talks about his path of destruction, and then he just kind of disappeared, right? And then Goldberg is back, and he's not gonna let Goldberg start another streak.
Yeah, the streak of him challenging champions and beating them. That's Kevin Owens and the Fiend, right? Is there someone else I forgot?
Yeah.
So let's hope that the third time is not the charm. Of course, Miz and Morrison interrupt, right? And they're talking ominously about maybe someone getting injured, someone's gonna get hurt, someone's not gonna leave as the champion because Miz will cash in and leave as the champion. Of course, they do their correct shtick again, and then we hear Goldberg's music, and Goldberg comes down and he gets to the ring. He just says, "Drew, you're next." And then Miz and Morrison are kind of like on the apron, just kind of like talking, mocking them a bit, and then they kind of like have a kind of like Goldberg and Drew kind of look at each other, and then they attack Miz and Morrison, and we see a spear claymore, which was pretty cool, and then a nice stare down between the two. And
Yeah, it's
please, Drew, retain.
yeah, I know. It's
Or
just,
Miz cash in, just not Goldberg.
I agree with that. So we're gonna head backstage with Charlie Caruso and Charlotte Flair. I believe this is the segment where Charlotte Flair confirms that she'll be defending her tag team titles with Asuka at the Royal Rumble, and on top of that, participating at the Royal Rumble, so pulling double duty.
Gonna do it all.
Yeah, and she basically shrugs off some of the comments that her father made, and so she has a match against Shayna Baszler. Again, the match, it wasn't really a match, and it was quite short because
they tumbled to the outside. She baseball slides Nia or something, and then as she's locking in the figure 4, Nia attacks, and then it's a DQ, and then the sexy muscle friends show up, and Lacey Evans show up, and guess what happens after that, playa?
But so basically, there's a 6-woman tag match, as you were alluding to. But even the first part of the match was not even clean because
that was weird.
Because there are winners, but they win by count out, and like Shayna Baszler is trying to argue with the ref, and basically, so we have Charlotte Flair, Dana Brooke, and Mandy Rose going over. But then during the commercial, we have like the 3 losers that are kind of arguing with Adam Pearce, who's now at the ramp. Like, what happened? Like, is this just an overbooked mess, or did someone mess up something? Like, it was
someone
weird.
had to have messed up. It felt weird. Like, I mean, there was a lot of good stuff in the opening sequence. Like, I mean, Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke looked really impressive, of course, at the beginning. But then it was Shayna and Charlotte fighting on the outside, and like Charlotte was kind of distracted by the other 2 members of the team, Nia and Lacey. And then the ref's counting, and like Shayna just pushes Charlotte into the apron, tosses her in the ring, and then goes in the ring, but doesn't make the count, and it's over. And then, yeah, like you said, during the commercial, they were arguing about how it's not fair, and Adam Pearce is like, "What do you want me to do? Restart the match?" And apparently everyone was okay with it. So that's what they did.
And here's the thing, man. Listen, like, I know that we shit on Nia Jax and everything, but what I'm about to say right now is completely warranted. When the match is restarted, Nia Jax is in control, and she starts working on Dana Brooke. And then she lifts her up, and I believe she wants to powerbomb her, but then she misses, and she just slams her head into the ground. I don't know if you noticed that, but dude, like I looked at it and I was like, she's definitely concussed. Like
There was it was a bit weird.
Send her back to developmental or something like that. Like Nia Jax, man, like this is not the very first time of her just hurting opponents. Like this has got to stop. I don't understand. And again, like I'm not a fan of her hurting people. Like she just can't wrestle.
Yeah, it was unfortunate. And then for this part of the match, the heels were healing it up, and
Dude,
then.
But this is how she picks up the victory. Like she like.
Oh wait, you're talking okay? Because I was confused a bit. Yes, the move she did to win with a leg drop. Yeah, I found that was terrible. I thought you were talking about something earlier that I don't. Okay.
I'm sorry. I mean, I like the whole point.
You said like right away after the commercial, and I was like, wait a minute, I'm trying to remember that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but again, like I mean, it's just bad, and
it was like a choke slam-ish, almost kind of like I couldn't really see. I'm not really sure what she did. Yeah, it was very bizarre.
She wanted to go for a power bomb, and I think she missed it, and she just kind of dropped her. And Dana Brooke wasn't expecting that, and you could see Dana Brooke like hit her head first. Like, anyways. She picks up the win, so Lacey Evans, Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler are your winners. Now, we do have Slapjack versus Xavier Woods, so now it seems that Xavier Woods is being fed every single member of...
Yeah, like, I mean, Ali has a nice pre-recorded message for Kofi again, and he says a great line, I think, which was the greatest moment in Kofi's life happened at the expense of Ali, which was the worst moment of his life, and like, commentary really just owned Ali. I felt so bad because they're like, well, this happened like 2 years ago. Like, I'm like, oh, I know it's a little late for it to be coming in now, and it kind of like makes it like even worse. And Retribution still kind of feels like they don't really know what they're doing. But yeah, Woods actually wins this match, right? Mm-hmm. So he's against Slapjack. Slapjack does have some nice springboard offense, but Woods does his usual things, a nice leg sweep, an honor roll. Ali tells T-Bar to get involved and make a distraction, and this allows Slapjack to get a roll up, but Woods counters with a Shining Wizard for the win and stares Ali down as he does it, and then they all beat him up after, and there was like a cool double chokeslam from Mason T-Bar, and then Ali kind of has more words for him. Looks like he's going to hit him with a steel chair, but in fact he just sits down on the chair, calls Woods a peasant, because I think Woods kept saying how he wanted to be king of the ring one day, so he says, you're not a king, you're a peasant, and he wants him to tell Kofi that Ali will be replacing him in the Royal Rumble because Kofi unfortunately cannot make it.
Well, there you go. So Kofi replaces Ali at the Elimination Chamber, and now it's Ali replacing Kofi.
So Ali's winning the Royal Rumble, right? That's what it is. It has to be this.
Don't even.
It's not going to happen. But I hope he has a good showing because Retribution does just feel like the most threatening, but not threatening threat. I don't know.
Yeah, the most non-threatening threat. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Now we are gonna go with the two very unthreatening people backstage. We have Riddle and R-Truth. Riddle,
I like this.
I loved it. So he calls him Bro Truth, and I believe Truth calls him the Riddle. And I think Truth tells him that it's his birthday, and he got 24 gold carats.
He says there's the Hurt Business is going to be throwing a surprise party for R-Truth because it was his birthday last week, and they have 24 gold carats.
Okay.
And they're both Capricorns. They're talking about how they're both Capricorns, and they have like a connection on that. And then we cut to commercial, and then it's the Hurt Business, and this is where we have the infamous everyone comes out except Shelton's wearing a mask, and he takes it off, and you can like see if you read his lips, he's like shit, and like everyone's laughing, and it's kind of funny. And they have a VIP lounge, and MVP called Bobby Lashley Roberto a few times, and I'm like, what was up with that?
Yeah, but this is not the first time. I believe he's been calling him Roberto for a while. I like it. It's funny. It's funny.
It's
like
fine. I just noticed
name.
it.
Yeah,
it kind of is his name, right? So what's the deal here? They all look good as champions, and they kind of wanted to like
they
give back to MVP.
They got those chains there, like the THB or something like that. That chain looked pretty cool.
It's like a big gold chain THB.
Yeah,
which is the Hurt Business, right? Or is it? Because after they're talking a little bit about how Cedric and Shelton are having like a bit of argument, you can see that there's more tension because Cedric interrupts him earlier, and then while Cedric is bragging about how he was talking to the designer of the chain, Shelton's like, "What do you mean? You don't know what you're talking about?" R-Truth interrupts, and everyone's like, "Why are you here?" MVP's like, "You're not on the list." But R-Truth is like, "What do you mean? Like you guys were gonna throw a party for me, you know?" And Cedric's like, "No, this is all about MVP. It's not about you." But THB is Truth Happy Birthday, right? And he wants his shiny gold carrots. And then he even makes a reference to Dance Break from a few years ago. Remember that?
Oh yeah. Oh my god.
Lashley does want to make it up to him, though. He kind of invites him to the ring to see a gift, and before anything could really happen, the entire 24/7 division shows up, and there's a whole kerfuffle. The Hurt Business even gets involved, and while this is all happening, Riddle sneaks in a knee strike on MVP and runs out of the ring because Riddle is going to be running a gauntlet match tonight against all members of the Hurt Business except Lashley in order to get an opportunity at Lashley's U.S. title.
Yeah, sounds pretty exciting. So now we're backstage with Adam Pearce, R-Truth, AJ Styles, and Omos. Essentially, Truth is basically speaking to Adam Pearce, and he talks about the Money in the Bank, right?
Yeah, he wants to enter.
Exactly, and Adam Pearce like, who is this idiot? And AJ Styles just walks up and he's like, listen, he's a very benevolent person. And he heard R-Truth talk about opportunity, and he basically wants to give R-Truth that opportunity. And then didn't R-Truth say something like, "You're benevolent. I'm a Sagittarius." Like, what does that even mean?
No, he said I'm a Capricorn, because they were talking about it earlier. And then because he thinks a benevolent is like
he calls
zodiac.
He calls himself a Sagittarius, and he calls Omos a Capricorn because then
Bro, you're totally off. He calls almost a Taurus, and he's like, "Are you a Taurus?" Because I once drove a Taurus with the Road Dogg, and it broke down one time.
I don't know my astrology. I'm sorry, I don't know my astrology.
What do you mean? You don't check your horoscope every day? What's wrong? No, it's okay. But yeah, it was Capricorn. Benevolent is not an astrology sign, but Taurus is.
I love AJ Styles just booking matches for himself.
Remember when we were thinking AJ Styles is kind of having face-like behaviors when he was feuding with Elias? That quickly just dissolved into he's just kind of like a mean douchebag again. But yeah. I'm fine with it. The Notebook is in his top 10 movies. He's got a lot going for him. So I'm enjoying this version of AJ Styles. And Omos is always entertaining. I like their little interactions.
Yeah. So now we do have Sheamus versus John Morrison. How good was John Morrison?
I don't understand why he looks like he's so amazing. He does these moves that look so effortless, and nobody's even impressed. Even commentators whatever. I think he just did a standing shooting star, and commentators oh yeah, just typical stuff here.
Considering his age as well, it's
Morrison he's incredible, and this match was also incredible. I really felt like Sheamus and Morrison they went all out here. There was a lot of heavy hitting, a lot of crazy moves. Sheamus being in control early on, of course, but then Morrison's able to catch Sheamus when he's doing a top rope maneuver, which you don't see very often from Sheamus, but he seems to be doing it more and more, and it gets his legs. So now Morrison is all over the knee. He's got a dragon screw, leg locks, all of these things, and Morrison is in firm control until Sheamus is able to pick up some advantage. He hits a clover leaf, and then he's able to hit a beautiful knee strike into a white noise and pick up the win. We had a great match between the two, but Miz is upset, and he decides to challenge Sheamus to a handicap match, and throughout the whole thing, they're talking about how it's the Royal Rumble. You can get eliminated in the Royal Rumble if you go over the top rope and stuff like that. And Miz is like, if you want to train for the Royal Rumble, what better way than to have another match? And Sheamus does not mind, right? He totally accepts this because he's a fighting guy, and we have a 2-on-1 handicap match with no tags, right? They're just all in the ring the entire time, and they absolutely beat him down. And this is where Morrison does the standing shooting star thing that I was like, wow, so amazing, and nobody even cared.
I mean, at this point, I guess they were also working on Sheamus's knee, right?
Yeah, they kept doing the knee thing, right? And Sheamus took a huge beating for a while until he had a great opportunity to rally against everyone. He was doing the signature chest chops to both of them on the ropes as well. Sheamus almost looked like he was going to win. He was setting up for a brogue kick. Morrison pulls the leg from the outside, and this distracts him. Miz tries to hit the skull crushing finale, but he can't. Sheamus gets out of it. He ends up hitting Morrison with a brogue kick. But while this is happening, Miz hits the skull crushing finale the second time and successfully pins Sheamus there.
Yeah, poor Sheamus. So, but hey, again,
where was Keith Lee, man?
Great showing from John Morrison and Sheamus, and then the Miz just kind of weasels his way into a win. So now we do have a backstage segment next, and this was just bad. I saw this, and it's kind of reminded me of Trish Stratus and Triple H, a couple of years ago. But
that's exactly what I thought of.
But worse, you know what I mean? We basically have Ric Flair showing Lacey Evans his moves or how to get how to get out of some holds. And Charlotte comes in, and she just tells Lacey to leave. So Lacey kind of, leaves. And, she basically just expresses her disappointment at Ric Flair, and she talks about how she's not the bad guy. No matter what he thinks, she's looking out for her dad, who is turning from a legend to an old man. And
that kind of hurt. Poor Ric Flair. And this is the crazy part. Like, while this is happening, she's backing out of the room, and Lacey comes back and attacks her. And Rick is gonna go check on his daughter, and Lacey's like, "Nah, let's go do something else, and let's go woo somewhere." And they walk off, and you can hear him wooing. And I was like, "Oh my, okay."
Yeah.
Well, I don't know who to root for anymore, Charlotte or Ric Flair. They're both douchebags in this situation.
Yeah, exactly. So now we do have R-Truth versus AJ Styles, and unsurprisingly, AJ picks that up, right?
This is like not even a match, right? Like, I mean, there's a couple of cool stuff. John Cena makes a vicariously appearance here.
I did like the one thing with AJ Styles when he's like, he basically he's holding on to R-Truth and almost is outside, and he's like, look, almost, this is what I'm gonna do to 29 other men. And he basically throws R-Truth out, but he's the one that gets thrown out. I don't know. I just thought that was pretty funny. But yeah, it wasn't much of a match.
Almost is totally going to catch AJ in the Royal Rumble and toss him back in the ring at least one time, right?
That's going to happen.
Like that. Yeah, and so R-Truth channels his inner John Cena, tries to do the John Cena stuff. He hits the 5-knuckle shuffle, but he can't quite lock in the AA, and then AJ reverses it into a calf crusher and wins. I feel like they could have had a really good match, and they just kind of like, here, go out, do this thing for 2 minutes, which, I mean, I guess is fine, but R-Truth can put on a good show. I feel like they could have given him a better... But at the same time, he's kind of a comedian jobber, so it's fair.
Exactly. So we do have Alexa's Playground now, and it's pretty much like Control-C, Control-V of last week. She talks about Randy Orton, and she talks about his face, and she talks to her invisible friend. But we've all seen and heard this before, right?
Yeah, and it's not the Fiend, apparently, the invisible friend, because she refers to him as something else, but she talks to the invisible friend like it's not him. Like... she wants to have fun with Asuka as well. She talks about how she might get a new toy. What about her trick from last week if she liked it? So she doesn't feel like playing nice tonight is basically the moral of the story here. And you can see at the end, you can hear "Let Me In" from The Fiend.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I had expectations about her character and everything, and they're just kind of going about it.
I don't have a problem with anything that's going on with the Alexa Bliss thing. Like, I think it's very interesting. It's something different and unique. I just don't like that it's kind of at Asuka's expense.
Yeah, that's
like, I was dreading this main event, and honestly, the way it worked out, it kind of worked out okay.
Yeah, exactly. But we do have a gauntlet match. Mm-hmm. Right, and part 1 is Riddle versus Shelton Benjamin, which was probably, I guess, the longest match of the 3. Right?
You find? I thought maybe I was mistaken. I felt like Cedric and Riddle really was the
really. I mean, listen, I enjoyed both matches, but this one with Shelton Benjamin, man, Shelton Benjamin, I don't even know how old he is right now, but he can still go, and they were both really, really good. It was really hard hitting stuff, also.
Yeah, absolutely, and there was a lot of good stuff between the two. And what's going on on the outside of the ring is Cedric is kind of like trying to distract Riddle, but it ends up backfiring because Shelton clearly rolled up Riddle for a 3 count while the ref was distracted, and then MVP's upset. He's like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "I'm trying to help." And MVP's like, "Just do nothing." And then while all this is going on, Riddle picks up the win on Shelton. And when MVP goes up to have his turn in the gauntlet, he's still distracted, and then Riddle just locks him in a leg lock, and he taps immediately. So it's like Riddle gets a win after a pretty grueling match against Shelton, picks up a quick win against MVP, and now we have, after the commercial, the Riddle versus Cedric, and these guys were like, whereas the Shelton match was a bit slower paced, this was high octane stuff. Like, I mean, there was great moves, a big exploder suplex, Broton that was countered with the knees, Riddle with a beautiful German suplex, Cedric hits a brainbuster. The ending sequence had a triangle choke where Riddle locked it in on Cedric. Cedric tried to lift him up and slam him, but Riddle kept locking in the hold. And then there was a sequence where Riddle was able to lock up a pin and pick up the win there. And Riddle is on stage celebrating while the Hurt Business is all in shambles, upset. And then you can hear the Hurt Business music, and Lashley shows up, basically attacks him, puts him in the Hurt Lock, and poor Riddle.
I mean, this has to mean that Riddle's gonna at least win one, right? Or actually win the big one.
I think so. Like, I mean, right now it's not booked for Royal Rumble, right? The Royal Rumble has 5 matches from what I remember checking as of today. And I don't think this is part of it, but like I feel like Riddle's going to take the U.S. title at some point. It would be pretty lame if he goes through the gauntlet only to lose. But then again, it's Lashley's a good U.S. champion, even though he doesn't defend it super often. Like,
Yeah.
I'm a fan of a dominant Lashley, so
Yeah. Oh, now this I did not expect. We have
no at all.
a pre-recorded video of Edge. Listen, man, this guy can cut a promo. Like, like this, the way that he told his story, the way that he, talked about his youth and he talked about his mom and, telling her that he wanted to be a wrestler and she's like, just go for it. And, like those were simple words and, he actually used those words as kind of fuel to kind of get back into wrestling, even after being away for 8 or 9 years and, to kind of get his career back and to get his dream back. And this is why, at the Royal Rumble, like he basically is confirming that he's going to be entering the Royal Rumble and he, wants to claim what he had never lost. Because it's true, he relinquished the title, right? He never lost it. So yeah. I thought that this was a really, really, really great segment and I'm happy that Edge is there, but I don't think Edge is going to win. I feel like maybe this is going to set up his next feud or something.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know. Like, I would love to see him win because I'm a huge Edge fan, but I also feel like it's like not really his place to win at this point. Oh my God,
it's going to be Edge versus Goldberg, Spear versus Spear at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I mean, that'll be interesting. Why don't you just throw Roman in the mix, have a triple threat spear match? Even Charlotte does a spear. Let's throw her in there too. Fatal 4-way. Charlotte can win all the titles by the end.
And Goldberg.
Of course, the best spear in the biz. But yeah, great promo by Edge. He went through everything. He explained how he became a superstar, became a wrestler, how he fought out of the 9-year retirement to come back and to take the title that he lost. He mentions Randy Orton, of course, and how he got injured at the greatest wrestling match ever. And yeah, great stuff. I can't wait to see him in the Royal Rumble. If he wins, I won't even be that upset, but I don't think he would. But Let's move on. We have the main event, women's title match, Raw Women's title, Asuka versus Alexa. Asuka looks a lot better in the first half of this match, right? She's all over Alexa. She's working the arm. But Alexa does dodge a hip attack, and Asuka ends up on the outside. And then we hear some weird music, and then Alexa's in the ring swinging, like rocking on a rocking horse thing, like one of those little rocking seats. And then we cut to commercial. And now we're back, and Alexa seems to be enjoying her time as she's like beating up Asuka. Asuka does start to rally, has a couple of great moments with a big German suplex and a sliding kick. And then we get another weird sequence where you can hear Alexa's original music. And then she's all of a sudden dressed like the original Alexa Bliss before this whole thing happened. And she's like in tears practically. She's confused. She looks afraid. Asuka is kind of confused as well, but eventually decides to charge at her in the corner, and Alexa dodges, and she goes to the other corner, and you can see she's still kind of confused and lost, and then more Fiend music happens, and then she's now full-on Fiend mode from last week, right? She's with her hair messy, the black lipstick and everything, and Asuka, again, tries to hit her with strikes, and like she's doing the whole Matrix dodging and countering everything. Asuka does almost lock in the Asuka lock, but Alexa's able to like just overpower her and like move her hand completely away and then lock in the mandible claw. And while this is happening, you can see in the background, and I've never been happier to see him, Randy Orton with like a slightly burned face, and he's there. And Alexa kind of notices what's going on, and she turns around right into an RKO. And yeah,
I guess. I mean, listen, I'm glad that we didn't get the outcome that we thought that we were gonna get, so I'm definitely happy about that.
It would be too weird to do it now, right? Like to have her just win the title right before the Royal Rumble, like it would just.
Yeah. So again, like because of that, I'm like, great. Like they did the right thing. I'm still worried for Asuka's title. I don't know.
Of course,
I
there's
really
a Charlotte
know.
Just around the corner.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like at the same time, it's exciting because you don't know what's gonna happen. But then again, you're like, should we be excited because maybe they don't even know what's gonna happen? And the fact that like Charlotte has more like of a presence on Raw than Asuka, and Asuka's all of a sudden afraid of Alexa Bliss, and like she wants to play nice with Alexa Bliss when we know who Asuka is and how dominant she was in NXT, and it's just weird, you know.
I agree. I feel like Asuka should be much more like powerful and like dominating, and
Hell
she should
yeah.
be intimidating to everyone else. Like it shouldn't be like that. But the way it's portrayed, it's always like Charlotte always looks amazing. Like even in the match earlier, she looked really good. Like her team only lost because she left to go chase after Lacey Evans, right? Like that wouldn't have happened if she was still there. So
that's why I'm like a little bit concerned. But listen, at the end of the day, you know, the WWE is going to do what the WWE wants. I just hope that it's not at Asuka's expense. But there were a lot of good things on this episode of Monday Night Raw. Like, I really thought that Sheamus and John Morrison was probably the best match of the show. It was great seeing Edge. It's going to be really exciting to see him. And actually, what do you think of the announcement where on Saturday on WWE Backstage, they're going to announce the number 1 and number 2 entrant for the Women's Royal Rumble, and they're also going to announce the number 30th entrant for the Men's Royal Rumble.
They're going to announce the third. That's weird. Like obviously the 1 and 2 is totally fine. It's interesting, but knowing who the 30th is,
isn't that weird?
That's going to be weird. That is very weird. But maybe they're going to do something cool with it, because like the number 30th without a crowd is not going to be the same as it usually is. So
exactly. But anyways, like I and honestly, like I'm really looking forward to our predictions. But I have a winner. I have a lock. I'm not gonna say it right now, but I'm pretty confident. I'm pretty confident.
Great. So I got to come up with something soon. I'll wait till SmackDown is in the books, so I can have a more informed decision.
Yeah. But if do you have any like final thoughts on Monday Night Raw before we sign up?
It wasn't a bad episode. I enjoyed what's going on with Alexa Bliss. Like, it's cool to see that she's like clearly not okay with this, and like she doesn't want to be trapped in this thing, but she is. Maybe Randy Orton is going to lure the Fiend out. Maybe Randy Orton gets possessed by the Fiend. That's interesting. Lots of cool matches. Like Morrison and Sheamus put on a very good match. The R-Truth like interactions and the R-Truth surprise birthday. Everything was cool. But again, it's 3 hours, so like it's so hard to enjoy it all, because it just feels like there's a lot of filler. Like that opening match with the 6 women tag just looks like they had no idea what was happening, and they were like making mistakes everywhere, like that weird finish. But and it was fine. A decent go home episode for the Royal Rumble, right?
Decent, exactly. I'll definitely give it a 6.5. But so that was our recap for Monday Night Raw. If you guys do enjoy our content, please make sure to like our video. The button is right there, and subscribe as well. And for the ones that didn't quit the video after what Gianni pulled with his mask at the beginning, thank you so much for staying at the very end. And we'll see you guys in the next one.
Okay, but now that everyone else is gone, who is your pick for the Royal Rumble? Tell me, no one else is listening at this point, right? Nobody stays after this.
Santino Marella.
Santino and Santina for the men's and women's. Yes. Book it.
Calling it out. But for real, I think it's going to be Daniel Bryan.
A good pick.
Just putting it out there.
That's the one they've been reminding us constantly and planting the seeds for.
My boy D-Bry in my top 5.
My fave 5.
My fave 5. There you go.